Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 different little shop tips or little bench tips that you may find useful in your shop that are just kind of little oddball things that I do here in the shop that just make things a little bit easier for me and may help you out. One of the things is, first one we're going to talk about is the glue. Now, a lot of people buy Barges cement or Masters, something like that, and they're going to use that leather cement. I just use the Weldwood contact cement from the hardware store, and so you can get that at Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, those kind of places will carry it. I buy the gallon jugs, and the tip I want to talk about is don't pull the lid off of this like a paint can, like you normally would if you're going to paint a wall or something with a normal paint can. Leave the lid on when you get them, and then just take a chisel or a screwdriver, and what I do is I punch a hole and then another hole, take that screwdriver or a chisel and then make a big hole here on one side and then just a little vent hole on the other side. And that allows you to have a little more control of pouring this glue out of the jug into your glue pot without having it go everywhere, because if you take this lid off and try to pour it, it just makes a mess. So that works out really good there. And then I just take a scrap piece of leather, put it on the top here, and then put me a little piece of leather right there in the vent hole, and that'll keep that glue nice and fresh in there. If you don't use your glue a whole lot, and if a gallon lasts you like 3 or 4 months, then you may want to have something else to put over the top of this just to seal it better. I go through about a gallon every 3 to 4 weeks, something like that, maybe 5 weeks, and so it stays fine in here for me. If it gets a little thick, I can add a little acetone in there and thin it down. But that's what I do, and then so that's what I would suggest. Even if you're buying the small little cans, punch you a couple holes in there and you can pour it out a lot easier than taking the lid completely off. All right, so if you do a lot of repair, then this would be kind of a really handy deal that even if you're not doing repairs and there's sometimes you need to bust a rivet out, take a rivet out of a piece of leather or maybe a snap or something like that. Getting a plate like this is just a piece of aluminum, a plate of aluminum that they drilled holes in, just various size holes in here, and those holes actually go down through the bench. And so what I can do is if I've got say a stirrup leather in particular and I need to bust a rivet out of there, I can line that rivet up over this hole right here and take a peening tool, just a metal tool like this to drive that through. You can also use an awl a lot of times, but I'll put that on the burr side and I can drive that rivet through the burr and out through the bottom of the bench, and that will pop it off real easy, and you're not tearing up the leather and you're not sanding it off on a grinder or something like that. And I've got different size holes here if I'm trying to take out like a little splash rivet or pop rivet or a double cap rivet or even a snap or something like that. You can always use something over here as well. It's a really handy tool. It's just a plate on the corner of the bench, drill all the way through there, and you got a place to pop your rivets out of any work that you may be doing repair on and things like that. Another thing that I find real handy on my bench is tacking a little sponge, just any old chunk of sponge or that you'd wash dishes with or whatever. Nail a piece of that to your bench right there, and it's a great place to store your little needles, awls. I use some line-up nails on saddles. I keep those in there. My harness needles, things like that I use when I need one, they're right there. They're just stuck in that sponge. Makes it real easy to find them. You don't have them in a little drawer and you're trying to hunt them down. Just keep a few of those right there. Anytime I need one, they're ready to go. So we've shown this little thing here on another Instagram video that we did a while back, but it's just like a little edging block. Basically all it is just a little strip of leather, say 3/4 of an inch wide. You can even do it 1 inch wide, whatever you want. And it's this one here is about 4 inches long, somewhere around there. And like I said, 3/4 of an inch wide, but the width doesn't matter. But you'll have one block there, and then the top block has this little kicker that comes out, and that's basically just to keep the work down underneath there as you're edging along. And so the block underneath is what you're chalking up against. And so when you're edging a little strip, you can get it started, hold your edger in place, and then just pull the work against it. And as you do that, it's going to go ahead and just edge that side. Then you can flip it over, put it back in there, and do the same thing. So you're holding the edger stationary, and then you're pulling the work against the edger. And that'll work really good and save you a lot of time on edging any kind of string, saddle strings, little straps, bridle pieces, anything like that. If you don't have an easy edger, then this really will save you a lot of time. I use this more than anything else just because it's faster. I can just throw my work under here and pull it through there and edge it real quick. These are low profile. They're easy to remove and put on another bench if you need. I just find a place in the shop where I can get to it, where it's not in the way, nail it to the bench. It's right there anytime you need it. Those work great. Now we've shown both of these benchtop skiver and lace cutter before on other videos. You've seen me use them in project videos. This tip right here is more of just like a little safety tip. If you've got a benchtop skiver or a lace cutter of some sort in your shop screwed down to the benchtop somewhere, my suggestion is to always put you a flap of chap leather or something that you can put over the top of it when you're not using it. I've got young kids that are in the shop. Usually my children are in here with me. A lot of times they've been in here long enough, they know not to mess with anything on the bench because everything in here cuts leather and can cut them. But they're still kids, so I want to be safe, so I always put these over. Even in the shop that I apprenticed in, he had these over his, because you never know when you might be reaching for something and accidentally hit that blade. So you want to be sure and put you just, it doesn't have to be fancy, just an old piece of chap leather over the top. This one especially, I've actually had a customer, fellow leather crafter, that cut himself on this tool, and he knows what these are for, and but he accidentally just didn't realize that blade was sticking up, reached for something, pulled back, and it cut him, and cut him pretty good. And so that's why these things are just kind of, you know, if you want to be super safe, just take the blade out of it when you're done using it. That works too. But I'm kind of lazy and like to leave the blade in so I can use it. So instead I put a flap over the top of it. That just keeps it from anybody really accidentally cutting themselves. So let's be safe in the shop. Be sure all your tools are when they're not in use, they've got some type of cover over the top of them. All right guys, so that's 5 little tips that maybe can help you in your shop. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next video.